Going to look at another example of a sustained investigation, and this time we're going to focus on row C of the rubric, which is all about materials, processes, and ideas. A reminder that even though this example is an example of work that was submitted as a 2D design portfolio, the rubric for row C is the same for 2D and drawing students. So, as usual, we will start by first reading the student's response. This is 1,200 characters that you have to write about all of your work to help explain how you actually meet all of the parts of the rubric. Losing the most confusing of all emotions. Oh, sorry. Let me try again. I missed that comma. Losing the most confusing of all emotions, yet the simplest to understand. Losing can be seen in many different outcomes as there is many things to lose. Whether it be yourself or another, however, the act of losing can be uncontrollable and be seen as a negative. My pieces show losing as confusion and hatred or lack thereof. Wires in my pieces show holding someone or something back from their goal, which could be trying to be normal. Red shows hatred as blue shows sanity. For instance, a piece as confusing as my piece losing concentration, the lines show holding your eyes back from being able to focus on what the main goal is. This represents ADHD as it is very difficult to stay on one thing for too long. Another example is the color red. This color links all of my pieces, such as my piece losing emotion. The red shows the face that you put on so others cannot see what it is you're trying to hide, that being nothing. The wires in that piece also show the torture you have to put your body through to seem fine or normal in others' vision. Losing is not easy in the slightest, as so much can be lost, but it's how you show your feelings that help the most. Let's look at the work. Remembering this score is going to be focused on material, processes, and ideas. And so that part is where we're looking at this writing really comes into play of what did you tell us your materials were, your processes, and then we're looking at your visual ideas and do they all come together? Do they all feel intentional and connected? So our materials are Prismacolor, graphite, and red Sharpie. Process is body perspective, color theory, and experimental thoughts with anger, using wires to hold back. What I want you to think about as we go through and look at these is starting to think in your head. If you were the one scoring it, are you seeing intentional decisions? How do these materials connect to their idea of losing? Does the process and what they say also show up visually and demonstrate losing? And then you can see if you agree. Image number 2, so this is more of a process image that we're seeing. Materials are pencil to paper. Processes are different ways to show being controlled to help understand the wrath. Image number 3, so this is another process image where we see them kind of making a pose and then it looks like working on sketching it. So materials are pencil to paper. Processes, I needed references for body shape and flow of the pulsing muscles. Image 4, material, Prismacolor, Muji fountain pen. Processes, biological and mechanical depictions to understand growth through objects to represent my ideas. Image number 6, red ink, black ink, Muji fountain pen. Process, mechanical and cultural depictions to show the idea of having no personality within one's own body. Image 6, blue ink, red Sharpie, Crayola marker, green paint, Muji fountain pen. Process, representation of internal battles to show weakness within yourself and life outside. Here we have a process image. So this is showing us the student actually working on. It looks like this image up here. So they didn't include any information about the materials or process. I never recommend that you just write NA. So even for process images, height and size, tell us what size is the actual process, what size is your sketchbook or worksheet or whatever you're working on. And materials and processes are still telling us why are you showing us this piece? What materials are you using? And what process are you demonstrating? Image 8, red Sharpie, black paper. It looks like this is actually on a transparency and not black paper. Emotional emptiness represented through transparent material. There we go. Thoughtful anger put into one person. So here we're seeing some more transparencies, red and black Sharpie. Process one face over another to hide the lack of emotion with emphasis on holding someone to a standard. So what they're showing us, this is actually a process image. So these two were put together to form this. I always recommend when you're doing process images that you actually put the process to the before the finish. So you're telling that story of, I was doing this, and then I did this. So as a reader is clicking the button, and they're really normally just clicking next from one image to the other, the story, the way that you're communicating what you did makes more sense instead of here where it's kind of trying to go back and see if that's the connection. Image 10, materials, Prismacolor, black ink, Muji fountain pen. Processes, psychological and mental representations to display fear in losing your own grasp of reality. Image 11, black ink, Muji fountain pen. Processes, planetary and political depictions to represent destruction on a large enough scale to move domains. This looks like it might be a close-up of some of this, or it may be a separate piece. So that is an option as well. You can do detail images if you have something that's really intricate and you want to get everyone a closer view so they can really see what they're looking at. Black ink, Muji fountain pen. Processes, large processes of disorders and struggles to show confusion and discomfort. This is a good example of kind of a chaotic, overwhelming composition. It's really, really full, jam-packed. There's a lot of information, but bringing us together through a lot of repetition in shapes, sticking with just the black and white contrast, but it really does make us kind of try to lean in and understand what we're looking at. Image number 13, Prismacolor, black ink, and Muji fountain pen. Processes, the discomfort and agony while pushing the limits of the human psyche to a point of hate. Image 14, red, blue, green, and black Sharpie, black ink, Muji fountain pen. Losing connection and pain shown through confusion and self-doubt. And image number 15, so this is like a process image where they're telling us a little bit about what they were doing. Critique to help better and create more detailed and understandable pieces. I would not recommend something like this as a process image. You normally want to have a little bit more information than expecting the person that is scoring you is going to read everything on the sheet. So this one scored a 2. On materials, processes, and ideas. This is about a 2, tells us that it is demonstrating visual relationships among materials, processes, or ideas are evident, where a 3, to earn a 3, you need to hit that visual relationships among materials, processes, and. So we have an or, you just have to hit one of these. This is all of them. Materials, processes, and ideas are clearly evident and demonstrate synthesis. And synthesis is meaning that we see it fully thought out and a really strong connection. So let's read about why this one received a 2. The written evidence describes wires in my pieces show holding someone or something back from their sick goal, which could be trying to be normal. Red shows hatred as blue shows insanity. Images 6 and 8 use line and color to visualize wire, symbolically represent meaning, and simultaneously create movement and emphasis to connect ideas. Throughout the portfolio, 2D skills such as line, color, variety, movement, and emphasis help associate material choice with symbolic representation. However, beyond the visual communication of line and color using ink, Sharpie, or fountain pens, it is unclear why the artist repeatedly chose those materials. So they're saying we want to understand, which you can add that into your material writing, which we'll work on helping people know, like, why did you actually choose those? So it's not super clear. How do those things connect? While the body of work presents a range of compositional approaches and processes that relate to the ideas, a concise and narrowed approach would further relationships and move towards synthesis. Therefore, the artworks presented relate, but are not quite to the score point of 3 without a selective focus on visual communication through materials, process, and ideas. So basically, they're saying it did show up in some of the work. There were some connections showing, but it wasn't consistently clear throughout all of them, especially that materials, processes, and ideas.